over how to give subcu fluids to a cat. This is Dr. Jorgensen's cat, Ragnar. He has volunteered for today. Good boy. When you're first preparing to give fluids to your cat, there is a separate video discussing how to set up the fluid bag if your set is not already assembled. There's 3 parts to it. There's your fluid bag, there's your veno set, drip set, and then there's the needle. We have a clean, sterile needle on the tip of this right now, ready to go. The other thing you want to make sure is that there's an air space in your fluid line here. That is going to allow you to observe how fast the fluids are being administered to your pet. There are 2 clamps along this line. One of them is a gradual squeeze, and the other one is just an open-shut squeeze. When you are not using your fluids, you want both of them to be clamped off so it doesn't leak. When you're ready to go, typically I unclamp this one, and I will use this as the administration, as the clamp that I use during administration. Typically, you'll be prescribed a liter full of fluids, and the fluids you'll see are going to be just above the 1, about an inch above the 1. Now what you're going to do is most patients are prescribed somewhere between 50 and 200 milliliters. And so if you're doing 100 milliliters, you start at the top and you go down to the 1. And then the next day, if you're doing 100 milliliters, you're going to go down to the 2. Each number denotes 100 milliliters. So there are 10 times 100 milliliters, which equals a liter. If you need to, sometimes it's helpful to actually mark on the bag what line you're going to next. So as you're working with your pet, you have kind of a quick reference. You don't need to, but sometimes it's helpful, or you can kind of transfer the line along there. Okay? You do want your fluid bag as high as possible so that gravity will work with you to allow the fluids to flow down. We're using an IV pole, but you can use a door with a hook on it. So closet hooks are great, hangers are great, but again, try to get it up as high as you can. One of the fastest ways to do it too is if you hang it up on the top of the door and then you sit down on the floor. You'll really have a lot more pressure when you're administering the fluids. In this case, we are going to use a treatment table though. So again, we have a sterile 18 gauge needle at the tip of this veno set. Okay. And what you're going to do is this goes in the same location as a vaccine would go. All right, Raggy, good boy. Kayla's already tenting the skin here. He's a long-haired cat, and so you can feel there's a little tent right under here. The reason we give fluids over the shoulders is just because there's so much space. See, I can make a tent here. I can make a tent here. If you were to try to do it here, there's nothing wrong with giving it here, but there's not as much give in the skin. They tend to react more. Over the shoulder seems to be the most comfortable place. So what I'm going to do is making a tent here, and I can feel right in between his skin. It's nice to just kind of be efficient as you get practice with this, not take a long time. It's a quick poke, just like that. Okay, and you can even feel your needle under the skin. I know, I'm sorry, Raggy. That's the part that's the most uncomfortable. It's really fast. Most cats adjust to it pretty easily. And then I'm going to go up to my clamp. And remember, when you do this, make sure this clamp is undone. Okay, it's one more thing you have to do otherwise. And then I'm going to open up the fluid line. And look up here. You can see it dripping. All right? If we were to lift this up higher, it would drip faster. I do know that some people will squeeze the bag. I don't like to do that because then it makes it hard to see where your fluid line is going. We're not going to make Ragnar sit here for the whole 100 mils because we'd probably be here for 5 minutes. So I'm going to stop it at this point. But what you would do is just watch until the fluids are down there and then just go ahead and clamp it off. And if for some reason they move or the needle comes out, just pause your fluids and put it in a different location. So I'm going to see Kayla's just holding a little pressure there, only because if you don't hold pressure, some of the fluids can actually leak out at that site. Doesn't hurt them, but we would rather the fluids be inside than outside. You may also find that, you'll have a little camel hump where those fluids are. You might find over a few hours, gravity pulls that down to one side or the other for the cat, and they generally absorb within 12 to 24 hours, if not sooner. Then when you are all done, that was the hard part, right? You want to take off your dirty needle that's no longer sterile. There you go. And put on a clean needle. Make sure that your used needle is going in a sharps container and that it's disposed of properly. And now your fluid bag is all ready to go, and you can start again at the next dose.